Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Sorry I've been gone for so long. I got a couple little things been going on in my life here, and I'll get to that when we get back. But today I want to discuss buying your first HF radio. And that's going to be something that's going to be a personal decision, but I want to maybe help you along. If you're looking to get into HF and you're looking for, there's so many options out there. I'm going to try and maybe simplify a little bit by giving you my top picks. So that's right here, right now on Ham Radio for Non-Techies. Hey, welcome back to Ham Radio for Non-Techies, where we try to simplify the ham radio hobby by getting you to study for, pass, and get on the air as quickly as possible. So the past few weeks I've been going on, my last show was on a couple of different products and stuff, like my Christmas show or Christmas gift show. And I discussed a bunch of stuff there. It's really kind of off. I was trying to stay away from buying the big stuff, and I got that done. So when that was all over with, I started getting on a fitness kick. Looked in the mirror one day and realized that I just had a little bit too much weight up front. So I've been going on a fitness kick here, and I've been doing a jogging. And what I'm doing is I'm actually running around. I'm fasting during the day, eating only at night, and eating something reasonable and healthy. But during the day, when I first get up in the morning, I go down to the track, and I walk between 3 and 5 miles. At least 3 laps are done with a 50-pound backpack on my back to help burn more calories and get more weight done. And I'm coming down to about a pound a day. I'm losing off my weight so far. I'm trying to get down 25, 30 pounds by the end of the month. So we'll see how that works out. But you're not here to talk about my fitness and my health. You're here to find out about radios. So like I said, when you're buying or thinking about getting into HF, like you've got your general license, you got your extra, well, I assume by the time you get your extra, you probably already have a couple HFs. But if you're getting into general, you're thinking about getting your general, there are so many radios out there, and everybody's pawing for your money to get you to buy something. And it can get really confusing. And I just want to show you from my experience, because I bought a lot of these radios, or I've used a lot of these radios that we're going to talk about here. And I want to try and simplify it for you. You really got to figure out what it is you want to do with the radio. You got to figure out, of course, your budget. Budget's always going to be a big factor. And do you buy new with a warranty, or do you buy used? So there's a lot of factors involved, and it can get very overwhelming to somebody who's new to this. Now, I went the route of, I don't want to mess with anything that's used. I want to buy only new stuff. I want warranties just in case something screws up. I don't know enough about this hobby yet, or about the radios themselves to know what to look for and what to really find where there could be something wrong with them. So buying something brand new, I have that little bit of that little safety net. I have a safety net there to kind of protect me from any screw ups, as opposed to buying something you don't know what the history of that radio is. So without further ado, we're going to pop over to my desktop. I got a short little presentation. I want to just go over this with you, and hopefully this will help you make a better decision if you want to get into HF radio and do all the kind of stuff that we're all playing around with and having fun with, that you hear about all the time. So let's go to the desktop here real quick. So buying your first HF radio, and these are things I said you need to consider. The first is going to be budget, your needs and wants. What do you need a radio to do? What do you want the radio to do? What kind of features do you want? Functionality, and where will you be using it most? You're using it home as a home base, or you use it outdoors, or be mobile with it. So figure those things out, because those factors are going to, it's going to depend quite a bit on which radio you get. So if you don't care about weight, you can get any radio you want if you're going to be carrying it around or doing stuff. And I'll give you a couple examples as we go along. Also, you have to consider accessories. You have antennas, coax, power source. You use a power supply where you're plugging it at home, or you'll be running it off like a battery, like a Bioenno battery. So the radios I'm going to be covering today are going to be the Xiegu G90, the Yaesu FT-891, the Icom IC-7300, and the Yaesu FT-991. So we have a lot of stuff to cover here, so let's get right to it. So first of all, the Xiegu G90, at the time of this thing, is about $450. Now, keep in mind, there are going to be sales between now and Christmas, or now until the end of the year. So check with the local retailers, whether it be Gigaparts, HRO, DX Engineering, Main Trading Company, whoever's got the radio you want. Go and shop around. Find the best bang for the buck based on what you want. So with the Xiegu G90, you have here a 20-watt radio. So I consider it's really be QRP. It's not going to be a really powerful radio unless you're going to add a amplifier to it. And you can get a 100-watt amp for it, but then by the time you spend the money on the radio and the amp, you basically have the other radios I'm going to be talking about here. So unless you're really into the QRP or you got a really tight budget, I'd probably consider the G90. I mean, it's a good intro radio, but I think it's got some, it's a little bit difficult to mess with here and there. So you really have to kind of like just play with it, look up tutorials on it, and learn about the radio and get used to it before you go out and start playing with it. The optional amp that's available is a Xiegu XP-891A, which runs about $550. So $550 and $450, it comes out to about the price of a decent 100-watt rig. This one does single sideband CW, AM, and FM. It does have a smaller screen, as you can see in the video here, and it requires more items for doing FT8 and other stuff like that. The XE19 data interface expansion port or signal link is what you're going to need if you want to use this thing for FT8. Now, I've got a friend of mine that I go out with, and it's the radio he carries with him. And he goes out, he makes contacts, doesn't make as many contacts as I do, because A, it's 20 watts and, you know, so on and so forth. But he does bring it out, and he'll either do voice or phone. And sometimes he'll go out there and just set up his laptop and just do FT8 out in the park and stuff. So you got to really see what you want to do and what you have, you know, available to you. It is a full HF rig. It can run on a 10 amp hour battery for a very long time, being it's only 20 watts. So if you're going to use this as a home radio, I really think you probably would be better off getting something bigger or something with more power to it, more oomph. And you also have to determine, you know, what kind of noise levels do you have around where you live? Like I said, where I've got over here, I've got a guy down the road here, 6 houses, 7 houses down, who has he's got a solar panel array on top of his house. And since he put this thing up, the noise floor on my radios has gone to absolute crap. So when I want to go play radio, I either have to wait until nighttime, real late at night when his stuff's not really causing an issue. And there's still some noise there, but during the day, it's almost impossible for me to get on the radio and do anything. So I either have to grab my rigs, go out somewhere to a park, or just get away from this area in order to get decent reception and transmission for playing radio. So keep those things in mind based on what your area is like, and you'll know these things when you hook up your radio. So the Xiegu G90 would be a good budget radio. It has an active waterfall on it, and I want to just talk about that real quick. I know that there are a lot of other radios out there that are good HF rigs. You got Kenwood, you got all those other different companies out there. I have become spoiled with, and you will too once you have one, I've become very spoiled with the waterfall feature on radios. I like having it there. It makes it easier for me to find stronger signals or to find where there's nobody on a frequency, so I can start doing my thing. And you know, like I said, you guys have seen my other videos. My big thing right now is POTA, and hopefully at some point in time doing some summits on the air. But for doing parks on the air, I want to be able to get to and find what I want to find as far as frequencies go very easily without having to spend too much time focusing on the screen. And although this does have a waterfall on it, it is very small. I mean, it's probably about, like, I don't know, it's 2 inches by 2 inches or something. It's not a very big, screen, but it will do pretty much everything you want it to do. And for a budget price, it's not a bad deal. Like I said, my buddy uses this out at the park when we go out. He brings his rig, I bring mine, and he likes it. I mean, I'm sure he'd like to have a 100-watt rig, but this is what he's got for now, and it works. He can still make contacts, he can still participate, and still have a lot of fun with it. So that is the Xiegu G90. So the next one, we're going to be bumping up quite a bit here. This is the Yaesu FT-891. Current price right now, and this, again, could change. Got to check your prices. Running about $640. This is a full 100-watt rig, single sideband CW, AM, FM. You will probably need external hardware for FT8, and there's a lot of menu setting changes you have to make. So you have to, go find some videos on how to set that up for FT8 if you want to do that. It is a full HF rig, reliable, solid radio, and I have this in my Go box, and I bought this because I like the portability of it. It's about the size of an old car stereo. It's a really small rig. It's a very powerful little rig, and it's got a lot of cool features. My only gripe with it is, A, it does not have a waterfall, and B, getting to things, you have to go through multiple kinds of menus to get to stuff. Now, if you get it all set up the way you want it and have maybe a little cheat sheet next to you if you tend to forget what's going on with how to get to certain features, it's not that big of a deal. Like I said, I've got this in my big Go box. It's ready to roll. 15 amp hour battery in it. I can run it all day long doing parks on the air stuff. I can drag it wherever I want to go, throw up an antenna, and I'm on the air. It's a very reliable, very, very reliable radio, and is a massive upgrade from the previous radio. So if your budget can handle, if you have to wait an extra week or so, or an extra 2 weeks to come up the extra $200 to pick up this, I'd highly recommend getting this over the Xiegu G90, only because it's going to serve you well. It's a full 100 watts. You can always bring it down if you want to do QRP or something like that. And it's just feature packed. So it's a great little radio to go. You can fit it in those, like the Pelican cases, the 1550 Pelican case, or you can get on to Harbor Freight and spend $60 on one of their extra large cases. You can drop this in there with a battery, probably throw an antenna in there, have everything in one little box and be ready to roll. So it just depends what you want to do and what your needs are. With the Xiegu, or what? No, sorry about that. With the FT-891, I'd also highly recommend going over and checking out, was it Portable Zero? They make these little rack cages, or not cages, little racks that go on each side of your radios. They make it for all the major brands. And what this does, if you have this thing in a bag, or you're carrying it in a backpack, or you got it in one of these little cases, it's just like it protects the buttons and the knobs on the front and protects some stuff on the back of the radio. Run about 70, 80, 90 bucks, something like that for that extra thing. But that extra expenditure is going to protect your investment down the road. Again, you're spending 640 bucks in this, plus antennas, plus coax. You want to have something to protect it. Extra 80, 90 bucks is a drop in the bucket compared to having to ship it back to somebody for repair because you knocked off a knob, or having to go buy a knob and then repairing it yourself. So I'd say do the smart thing. That's with all these radios I'm talking about. Buy those little rack protectors. I don't know what they're actually called, but I've got them on all my radios. With this radio, even though it's fastened to my Go box, I actually have those rails on this radio inside the Go box, just in case. You know, you just never know. It might be overkill, but I wanted to have it there. And if I ever decided to take it out of the Go box, it's ready to roll. It's already got the rails on there. So the 891, great little radio. I have used this before. Every once in a while, I'll bring it out just to play with it because I want to make sure I stay familiar with all my radios. But this is one of my favorite little radios. Unfortunately, it's in a box that weighs about 90 pounds. So keep that in mind as an option. So moving on, we have my all-time favorite, and this is a favorite radio for a reason. This is probably the #1 selling HF rig on planet Earth. And pretty much every ham, you're going to find very few people they're going to shoot this down and say, oh, it's a crappy radio, oh, it sucks, blah, blah, blah. It's a good, reliable radio, and for many, many reasons. At the time right now, when I did these slides, it was shown to be about $1,100, but I know that right now until December 30th of this year, December 30th, 2021, you can buy this at almost, I think, either Gigaparts or DX Engineering or even Ham Radio Outlet. They've all got coupons, which brings this radio down to $9.99. So again, if you want the ultimate HF rig, that's going to be great for beginners. It's going to be great for intermediate people. It's just going to work every single time. $9.99 for an Icom IC-7300, hands down, is probably the best deal you're going to find. And with the prices going up on everything, with the scarcity of things going on, if you've got it in your budget, don't hesitate. Grab one of these things now. You'll thank me later, I promise. So this is a full 100-watt rig. It does everything the other ones do: single sideband, CW, AM, and FM. It's ready to go with FT8. Just plug in you just have to plug in a USB cable, run it into your computer. Boom, done. It's got a built-in sound card. It'll handle everything. The touch screen on it is extremely easy to use. And that's the major feature of this thing, aside from the giant waterfall. And you can resize the waterfall on it, as you see in the video here. There's a lot of really cool things that make this thing a very user-friendly radio to have. So easy to use touchscreen. All your stuff's right there. A lot of your buttons for all your filters are right on the front of the radio. You have to even go into the menu to even make those changes. You can sit there and just hit the little knobs and things and change things as you go along. This is the radio that I bring out with me to do portable parks on the air stuff. I know it's a monster to bring out, but you know what? I've got the huge screen. I got the full 100 watts. If I need to make changes, it's right there. It's a very reliable radio. And I've made hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of contacts with this radio and my little DX Commander Expedition. So fantastic radio. Yeah, so I said filters are on the face of the radio. No hunting around to make changes. Blah, 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 blah. You can use a 15 amp hour, but a 20 amp hour battery is going to be a little bit better, and that's going to run you about $200 if you get the BioNO LiFePO battery. But I've run this 20 amp hour battery for many, many hours out at the park at full 100 watts. Actually, myself and Mike, K8MRD, we were over at Brazos Bend one day. He came out to go do POTA with us, and I'd been out there for a couple of hours already, about 2.5 hours making contacts. And I had about 180-something contacts, and he showed up. And, of course, when his voice gets on the air, the whole world jumps on the radio. But he came on the air, and he got about 150 contacts about an hour and a half, 2 hours or so. Got him really quick. So he was running. We were running about five hours plus, and it still wouldn't die. So the 20 amp hour batteries are really good for these. So that's my major big pick. If you want to have a good HF rig, this is the number one to get. And right now at $9.99, it's an absolute steal. And I highly recommend it. I mean, there are so many videos on the 7300. Nobody that I know of has ever shot one of these things down. If they do, they're probably doing something wrong. So keep that in consideration. High on your list. Really good radios to pick up. So the final one here is the Yaesu FT-991A. Now, right now it's running about $11.50. Again, check your pricing. There might be some deals going on, some last-minute Christmas deals. People want to unload all their inventory before the beginning of the new year. I've got this at home. This is my first radio. This is a true shack-in-the-box 100-watt rig, all band, all mode, VHF, UHF, HF. It's ready to go for FT8, which is what I mainly use it for now. I use it for FT8 at home, and I use it out for my VHF contacts and stuff here around town. The touch screen on it is, however, smaller and limited, and the filters are buried in menus. So unlike the 7300, if you want to change little things, a lot of your changes are buried in menus and things. That's kind of a pain and irritates me that they didn't just have it right there for you. You know, if there's other buttons that I never use, that would have been so easy, just pop a little button there and make, you know, this filter, and to be able to change it right then and there. And maybe I'm missing something. If you guys own one and you know a better way of doing it, let me know. It does have a smaller waterfall, and you're limited on your customization of that waterfall. Unlike the 7300, you can control the size. You can go super big on the waterfall, or you can go smaller. You have different scopes you can bring up on the screen and display. So you have a lot more customization with the 7300, but the 991 still has its place. It's still a good radio. It's still a reliable radio. And it's relatively easy to set up when using it. When you get it out of the box, you plug everything in, you turn it on, and there are a couple, there's quite a few videos out there. Maybe someday I might shoot a video on actually getting it started with the 991, maybe the 7300. But there's other guys out there that have already shot these videos, and it's kind of redundant for me to do something when they've done it so well so far. But, you know, as you saw in the video here, it's a little bit different playing with the 991. It's got its own things, and there's nothing wrong with the radio. I mean, it's just I like the convenience of doing stuff. When I'm out doing POTA, or I'm even just doing any regular HF contacts, I don't want to have to sit there and think about what menu is this thing in, what menu is that thing in. I want everything right there so I can continue focusing on what I'm trying to do, which is make contacts and make as many as I can in a limited amount of time. But for an all band, all mode, true shack in the box, you really can't go wrong with this radio above any other shack in the box type radio out there. So I think that is the conclusion of my slides. So like I said, you need to really consider what needs and wants that you have for an HF radio. Getting into HF is a lot of fun. You don't have to go out and do POTA and SOTA stuff, but it really, if you get into it, if you try it out, I think you're really going to enjoy it, especially the first time you get a pile up. You got 15, 20 people trying to get your attention. You're going to learn real quick how to do parks on the air and how to deal with pileups. But it's just fun to be able to go there and just do that all day long. You get in this rhythm. You get in this like the POTA zone, I call it. And once that starts up, you just keep going. You just don't want to stop. You keep going, you keep going, you keep going. And by the time you get done, a couple hours have passed. You go down and look at your little map if you're using the Hammers app, and it shows you all these places you reached today. And it's just, there's something just satisfying about knowing you reach all these different people and they get to know you a little bit. When you come back on the air next time and you're doing this at another park or someplace else, a lot of those people are going to recognize you and say, hey, you know, I heard you last time. I heard, you know, we made contact. And you start making friends that way. So if you know, say you go out and you want to just go home and just call CQ on HF somewhere and just talk to people, you might get one of these people out there that you did Parks on the Air activation with, and make a new friend. And you get to further advance your knowledge in radio by talking to them, by sharing what your experiences, your equipment. They share their experiences, their equipment. So there's a lot of things that can be had with doing this. So HF is really, really fun. And you know, when I first got my technician, I really thought that was going to be the be all end all of what I wanted to do in ham radio. And then I realized how very limited I was with restrictions on frequencies that I could use, restrictions on bands, and just being able to reach out. And, you know, VHF, UHF was fun. You know, if you want to, you know, hit the space station and stuff like that, the ISS, that could be a lot of fun, but you only can do that for a couple times. You're like, okay, I want more. So what is more? Where does more come from? Well, more comes from, I think, HF. And whether you're doing like contesting, or if you're just going to do calling CQ just to talk to people around the world, see who you can reach with your equipment, and then adjust your equipment accordingly to maybe reach out further or get better signal to people. You know, that's part of the fun of ham radio, is the experimentation. But I really think that if you're serious about getting an HF rig, you can go cheap. But as I've always said to you guys, buy as much radio as you can afford. And if you're thinking about buying an HF radio, you already probably got your general, or you're working on getting your general. You've already played with, or if you haven't, you should go play with somebody else's radio and go watch some people. If you have friends that go out and do Parks on the Air stuff, if you have friends that do HF stuff, go over to their houses, go out to wherever they are, go out those, you know, if your club does that, go out and hang with these people and try it out and get exposed to it and see if it's something you'd want to get involved with. Because it's cool to sit there and watch or read about it, but it's a whole different world when you actually execute it into your life and actually take action on it. Once you do that, you're going to know instantly whether you really like it or you really don't. But the point of my story is, if you're going to get into this, buy as much radio as you can, purchase something that's going to last you a long time, purchase something that's going to be reliable and not give you problems. Now, there are instances where you might find somebody who has a great used rig, and you might be somebody that you know and you trust them, and they're not going to be like, you know, dipping it in water and turning around trying to sell it to you for, you know, almost full price. I'd say go test out those radios. If you want to save a couple bucks, there's plenty of people out there who do swap meets and stuff. Go try out these radios. Go test them out. And if it's something you like, you can save $200 or $300 on it. By all means, go grab one. I just like the security and I just like the security of knowing I've got a warranty behind me and something that's attached to me, that if something goes wrong, I can send it back to the manufacturer, back to the retailer, and they'll either repair or replace it for me without any gripe or without any crap. So anyway, guys, I really hope you enjoyed this video. Please give me a thumbs up if you do. That helps the YouTube algorithm show my video to more people. If you guys have any questions, post them down below in the comments. If you have if you have any questions about anything you don't want to put in the comments, you can email me. Go to my website, hamradiofornontechies.com, and there's a contact us form right there. You can hit me up, and I answer every form that gets filled out. I answer people, so I'm always around to try and help you guys out. I'm not saying I've got all the answers here, and there are tons of other radios that I left out of this. These are just the ones that I have experience with, that I own or have used, and based on my experience with them, based on the reliability reports from people that I've watched over the past 9-10 months, these are the best picks for these types of radios for doing stuff that I think is going to be reliable for you. So like I said, also keep in mind, you're going to have to deal with your accessories. If you're going to do antennas, if you do plan on going portable with it, the spark plug antenna is a fantastic thing to use. Very portable, very small. Nothing to build. You just throw a wire on it, tune it up, and throw it out there, and you're ready to roll. By far, I do believe that if you have it in your budget, you should have a DX Commander Expedition, which does the 4 or 5 different bands. Once you get that tuned up, you don't need a tuner for it. You bring it out, you set it up in 12, 13 minutes. You're on the air, and you can talk to the whole freaking world on multiple bands, and you'll have a much better time with that rather than have to sit there and screw around with messing with different little antennas and things like that. So if you got the extra, that's what, like 300 and I think US dollars comes out like $307, and you add shipping, which is $40, about $350. And if you order it on a Monday, it'll be at your house on a Tuesday. He overnights these things from England to your house. I know when I ordered mine, I ordered on like Wednesday afternoon. It was there by Thursday at noon the next day. So I was really blown away by that. But you know, keep those things in mind. You have other expenses with these things, and don't be in a rush. I mean, don't just go off and buy a G90 because you have the money for a G90 and a nice antenna now. If you have to wait just a couple weeks, you've waited this long. Don't worry about if you have to wait a little bit longer to get the radio you actually want. You'll be a lot happier. You won't have that buyer's remorse if you buy the radio that you want now, or you buy the radio when you have the funds for it. Anywho, that's my big spiel. Drop questions and comments down below. If you got any other further suggestions, I'm all ears. I like to hear about that. I'm sure the other viewers like to hear it as well. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't subscribed. We try to put out videos all the time. I'm going to be doing another video. I got another product review coming out, and that'll be coming out either this week or next. And that is going to be my final video probably for 2021, as I need to go off and get a little bit of little R&R and spend some time with the family for the holidays. But we'll be back strong in January. And, you know, I will continue to answer questions. If you guys send me questions or comments and stuff, I'll check my stuff every day regardless. And then, you know, who knows? Maybe I'll get bored and just start shooting videos for the heck of it. But just have a great day. Have a safe holiday. Have a great week. And until then, guys, this is Ham Radio for Non-Techies, and we are clear.